The regular meeting of TTFA for December 18th to order. We'll start with roll call.
Director Wilson,
Here.
Director Cox.
Yeah.
Director Smelser,
Yes.
and Director Wilkins will be a few moments late, and President Tristan.
Yeah, here. Okay, at this time, why don't we stand and pledge of allegiance? How do you begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Open up public comment. If there's anybody who would like to address the board on an item not currently on the agenda, this is the opportunity. Seeing none, did we receive any written comments?
No public.
No? We will close public comment. Professional Achievements Awards, anniversaries, and acknowledgements. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, President Tristan and directors. And as I do on a monthly basis, I would like to acknowledge some staff specifically this month for some work anniversaries, and they are pretty significant anniversaries. We're able to have one of those individuals with us today, possibly a second that might be joining us soon. And we will start with Greg O'Hare with 20 years of service here at TTSA. That was in November of 2024, so other individuals would be Scott Wilcox, who we're hoping would join us, but currently has not, unfortunately, and Ellen Ferrant, that is on the night shift right now. So thank you very much to you guys for your years of service. And Ellen was 25 years, Scott and Greg being 20 years. And though it is not listed on the achievements item, I did want to acknowledge, and I will do so again next month, that we have a new employee, and that would be Liz Cook. And she is our new Chief Financial Officer and Risk Manager. She's an official employee now. So, hey Liz.
Thank you.
Hey, Liz.
Liz and to Greg and Scott and Alan, thank you guys. Years of service, that is a long time, and it's great having that continuity and history in the organization. And so please pass on our appreciation to the other two. And Greg, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
You must have been like 14 when you.
14 or 26.
All right, it takes us to the consent agenda. Any board members interested in pulling anything from the consent agenda?
Nope.
Hearing not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Consent agenda. Second.
Moved by Dale, seconded by Dave. Additional comments, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Right, moving right along. Regular agenda, item 1 is a discussion and consideration of approval of resolution 9/2024 approving employee benefit changes and restating employee benefits. Vicki.
Good morning again, directors. So in 2020, the board adopted resolution 12-2020, which approved employee benefit changes. Any additional benefits or changes that have occurred since then have been updated with subsequent resolutions. The current resolution before you, resolution 9-2024, changes language only within the medical and HRA portions of the resolution to allow employees to enroll in a medical plan based on their physical zip code. So please note within the document that is contained in your packet, it does state an effective date of Friday, some date in January, I don't have it in front of me, sorry about that. But we would like to have this resolution, if approved, to be effective today. So management and staff recommend the approval of resolution 9-2024, approving employee benefit changes and stating and restating employee benefits with an effective date of today, December 18th, 2024. And any questions on that?
Questions?
Dave,
No, I'm good. Move to approve. I'll second.
we have a motion by Cox and a second by Wilson. Any other discussion? I think this is, I'll just make a comment that providing this opportunity for folks to enroll in health plans other than Platinum, that provides a benefit for both the agency and the employee is proving to be a good plan. I'd asked Vicky, about we just finished open enrollment process in the September, October timeframe. And we still have, because of this plan, approximately 30 out of the 50 employees, I believe, opt into a different plan than the Platinum plan. Again, providing both cost savings to the agency and obviously a benefit to the employees who make that decision. So it's nice having that flexibility, and this just increases that opportunity for staff. So good job. Okay, all in favor of this? I guess it's a roll call for a resolution, all right?
Yes.
Okay, so will you do a roll call?
Director Wilson,
Yes.
Director Cox.
Yes.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smelser,
Yes.
and President Treston.
Yes.
Approved.
Thank you, Vicky. Great. That takes us to item 2 on the regular agenda, review and approval of the October, November financial results.
Good morning. Here in my official capacity now.
Did we just capture that Wilkins arrived in the minutes there? Okay.
Good morning. Let's talk about some math. Doesn't want to talk about math first thing in the morning, right? Please note, I believe next to your seat was a revised packet that included a little bit more information. The original packet was just missing the October financials, and the fiscal impact had been updated. Since there was no board meeting last month, the October financials were reviewed and approved at the November 19th Finance Committee. So today I was prepared to talk about the status of our financials as of November 3rd. I will add one more note, just a little housekeeping note. You may have noticed that the information looked a little bit different based on feedback from the board and from Finance Committee. In the packet, we added some different totals. Specifically for Fund 10, we used to have the expenditure total without the unfunded accrued liability payment. We included that so it will help tie to this conversation. And for the capital items in Fund 2 and Fund 6, we've added a subtotal by priority, since that's how those projects are organized on the paper, just for ease of reading. Taking a look at our November financials, our budget to actuals on the revenue side, November puts us 42% of the year elapsed. And for Fund 10, that would equate to about 10.8, almost $11 million. We're slightly under that if you look at the dot, the yellow dot. We're about $9 million, trending just slightly under about 35%. For Fund 2, 42% of that budget would be $1.1 million, and we're trending slightly under that as well at about $800,000, and that would be about 30%. Let's look at the expenditure side. And again, on the expenditure side, we also include Fund 6. We don't on the revenue side, since the only revenue is fund interest, it's much smaller. For Fund 10, 42% of the expenditures would be about $8.3 million. That's where that green dot is. We're slightly under 7.5 million, running about 38%. For Fund 2, the chart in the middle, same story, running slightly under. We should be 42% of the year through would be almost $2 million. We're about 600,000, running about 13% of expenditures. For Fund 6, the chart on the side, $5.4 million is where we would be at if we were trending with the percent of the fiscal year elapsed. We've only spent about $500,000, so we're only about 3%. A reminder, when I came at the end of the first quarter, we talked about how there would be expenditures in Fund 6 that we wouldn't be spending, but they would shift into future years based on just construction timing and projects. Before I go to talk a minute about total cash, are there any questions on revenues or expenditures for any of the funds? Total cash, still a good story. Our total cash is about $35.6 million. It's about $2 million higher than where we were this time last year. Again, that's the effect of the rate increase that we're seeing. You'll also notice that we're following the trend. We're spending down as we go through the fiscal year. We have not received our first teeter payment yet, but when we look at January financials, we should definitely see an uptick, follow the trend, and bounce up a little bit higher than it is now. Any questions? Claudia?
Thank you, Liz. Ahead and move on to item 3, discussion and approval of resolution 1024, updating signature authority for agency accounts.
I think that's me too. I should have sat down. I got really excited. Wanted to make sure I got my steps in today. Good morning again. We've updated the attached resolution 10-2024 to make one change. The title for the finance and admin manager had been listed as that. We needed to update it for banking reasons to CFO risk manager. That is the only change in this resolution. Through tax and comp, if any other titles change, we will need to bring this resolution back, but it's just to allow the signatories. Now I'm done.
Any questions on that item?
Nope.
Pretty straightforward.
Move to approve resolution 10-2024, please.
Have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Wilkins. Any additional comments? Hey, the roll call.
Director Wilson,
Yes.
Director Cox,
Yes.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smelser,
Yes.
and President Tristan.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Hey. Through the regular agenda,
You're moving right along here, Mr. President.
and get here before the new year. Item 6, team reports. You, Mike?
Yeah, thank you. Morning, Board of Directors. For the Operations Department report for the months of October, November. All compliance, all plant waste discharge requirements were met for the month of October. All plant waste discharge requirements were met for the month of November, with an exception of one violation of the final total COLA form due to unreportable data. As noted below, after a 24-hour presumptive stage, the technician removed tubes from a 35-degree C incubator and examined them. No reaction was evident. However, another 24 hours was needed for the sample, and the sample was put off to the side. So we were not able to come up with a reportable number. And then for the monitoring and reporting program for November, one of the 4 influent BOD or biological oxygen demand samples was not reported due to the technician error. Non-compliance for the NPR was reported to Lawhonton. So both were reported to Lawhonton, and corrective actions have been taken so that these irregularities do not happen again, so that we do not generate this non-reportable information. For the month, the plant performed well. For the months, we cleaned digester 33 and restored it to service. Can you go to the photos for me?
Hey, Mike, regarding those missed lab analysis.
Yes.
I mean, those are just one data point on a constituent that's monitored daily. Okay. And so I mean, I imagine these types of things happen relatively frequently. amongst agencies, how serious does Lahontan take, you know, a single missed data point?
We've reached out to Lahontan and we let them know, verbally, and they said, put it in the report, and they really didn't have, other than they'll be looking at our corrective actions and what we've done to try to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future. Kristen Davis, the lab director, did a great job, when she found out that the errors had happened. We've got a check off list so that the BOD isn't missed again. And then for the, multi-tube, which can be a little bit more confusing when you're coming in for 1 or 2 days and stuff's been done before you got there. We made some trays that are more discernible what days they are and stuff. So she's taken steps in retraining for all staff that work in the lab, just to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So, typically, as long as you're taking it serious and you're doing corrective actions to try to, avoid this in the future, usually Lahontan is, understands that and we move forward and hopefully this doesn't occur again.
Thank you.
So again, digester cleaning, can you skip? There you go. So digester 33 during the month of October, staff did a great job. We've done several digester cleanings now with some of the bypass pumps that we use for bypassing. They actually work really well. And our staff were able to clean out our digesters, and this one we were able to take it down and clean it out within about a week. So we're getting quicker and quicker as we go. We've got a great place to store the material out in the herb. At the very end, we put some K-rail up to kind of hold it back, and then in the spring, we go in and clean all the debris out and send it off to the landfill. So, it's been about 5, maybe 6 years since we've been in digester 33. And so we're on a schedule to every 5 to 6 years clean out those digesters, each digester. We clean the centrifuge feed tank. Go to that photo, please. So this is the centrifuge feed tank. You can see that we get a lot of, debris that gets on the mixer. So every 6 months, and then we also have grit and heavier inorganics that settle out in the bottom of the tank. So every 6 months, we have to go into this tank and clean it out so that it stays operational. And then let's see, we added anthracite media to the final effluent. Filter number 3, winter weather preparation. And then we also had some staff attend the WEP technical annual conference. That photo, please. Thank you.
Nice.
So, yep, we had staff go down to that. It was a lot of good feedback from that, a lot of good information, especially with the direction that we're moving to try to look for nutrient removal and different forms of that. Staff attended the nutrient, we also had staff attend nutrient removal seminar hosted by MISCO down in the Bay Area. We went down for a 1-day conference and a lot of good information there too. So work orders for the month. Completed 24, 14 pending, and then you can see the other flows and constituents. The one thing I wanted to bring up was, can you go to the bar graph?
Yeah.
Just want to get some feedback from the board if this is something that they would like to continue with. So we put together a graph that bar graph that shows chemicals. And it's a 12-month, so it kind of gives you an idea of what we're spending per month on each constituent. Just so you have an idea. Is it too busy? Is this something you want to continue to see, or is it you want to just stay with the other graphs that just give a monthly overall cost? This is a little bit more of a breakdown.
I appreciated seeing this detail.
Okay.
Same with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you like to see it in any other format, or is like a 12-month, running 12-month summary sufficient?
I think the running 12-month works for me, and then, the other thing would be interesting is in the table, if it had, totals.
Yeah. Okay,
Both on the per month, but then also the total for the 12 months.
On the right-hand side, for each chemical, how much the annual.
Right.
Yeah, that's nice, Mike. I also appreciated seeing that data. On the,
That's a thank you to Greg. He put this together for me, so I can't take credit for that.
on the digester and the other vault there, the mixing, the centrifuge mixing, that's confined spaces, I imagine. So
Oh, yeah.
you guys are in there with applied air
No,
units or?
no, it's a, we have to evaluate the space, but
Okay,
as long as we ventilate it and
Okay.
continuously air monitor,
okay,
typically it's just with, full face with HEPA or cartridges, organic cartridges.
So you have an ear monitor?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, several. And we continuously air monitor. And we are also providing fresh air, fresh ventilation from outside. We have a rescue plan and all that stuff. We follow our confined space.
Those are all OSHA mandated,
and then, so they removed all the grit, debris, cleaned it out, any signs of any kind of structural issues? Surprised, I imagine that's part of the purpose also is to do a
Yeah.
inspection of the integrity of the inside of the units, and they look
We
good.
replaced some valves that are exterior valves that you can only replace when the digester's out of service.
Okay,
And we do that on all the digesters because you do have some fouling in the valves and stuff, and just because of the constituents that pass through there. But we do all that work when it's out of service and clean, so.
super. Yeah, I had one other question. I really like going through all the charts you provide. For some reason, it finally occurred to me that we don't seem to give any data. I know that because we're doing this plant upgrade, there's a lot of talk about, the nitrogen limits we have to hit in our nitrification and denitrification process, but there's graphs for a lot of things, but there's no discussion or graphical or tabular information regarding our nitrogen. Is there a reason why nitrogen's not included in any of those graphs? Is it the way that we monitor it not lend itself to? Is it more of a, we have phosphorus limits and where we're at compared to that, but we don't show anything regarding nitrogen.
We do TKN, which is
It's an
nitrogen.
It's an influent number though, but which gives you an idea of the loading into the plant, but doesn't really talk about, I know that when we did the tour, we've got very stringent nitrogen effluent requirements, but
Well, it's well 31 requirements. So the requirements for nitrogen concentration are well 31. And we do have a daily total nitrogen on our effluent. Do you want to see the well 31 nitrogen concentration?
I don't know, I just occurred to me that seems to be a constituent that came up a lot, as we look at our plant upgrade. And again, I wasn't sure, maybe it is because it's a well 31 number and maybe the phosphorus and the other constituents, suspended solids and stuff like that are things that you have more at the end of the pipe here as opposed to a well thing, and it maybe, I don't know, do you monitor well 31 on a daily basis or is
On a weekly basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it was just a curiosity on my part, but it didn't seem to be
Yeah,
much in the way of nitrogen. Maybe think about if there is a way to display that.
we could definitely have a graph that shows well 31 nitrogen concentrations and averages. And
Okay. This is a question. You guys think about it, and if there's a way to do that, and if it makes sense, be curious to see that as well.
I've got a couple questions and relates to trends on, I don't know if it's on this presentation or not, but on the monthly average daily total phosphorus in the effluent. The trend seems like they're much lower than they have overall previous years. Are we doing something different or what would be causing that? I know I'm getting granular on it, but.
A lot of it is how we run VNR. It's the biology there because they use a lot of the phosphorus, running strippers, which is another form of how we remove our phosphorus. In the last, I would say, 3 years, we've done a pretty good job of maintaining them in a little bit tighter, longer hydraulic time, and we're removing more pounds of phosphorus. So,
Which is, it's a good thing, right?
yes,
Yeah.
it is. So
Okay.
our effluent phosphorus has kind of dropped over time.
Okay, and then the
And
other,
you'll see it fluctuates too. I mean,
Yeah.
It depends on time of year, it depends on what the loading coming into the plant is and how, you know, everything kind of ties together, so.
Yeah.
You can't pinpoint one specific thing that we've done different that would lower it. It's a combination of several different things.
It was interesting when I looked at it.
Yeah.
That was part of the, you know, you kind of get what you ask for with these charts. And so it's like
Yeah.
looking at them. And then the other one, just probably for information, well, as well as the monthly average daily total nitrogen in the effluent seems like it's running a little bit higher than it has in the past. Is that same kind of situation or?
Again, it's basically BNR and how so nitrogen, that the species of nitrogen, you can get a little bit of carryover through BNR at certain times of the year. But, if you look at it, it's actually kind of in the middle of when you look at total nitrogen for the effluent, it's kind of in the middle of the other years, so it's just gonna vary. Water temperature, just so many different things that impact that system that can change that just a little bit, so.
So warmer water tends to create higher nitrogen.
Typically, we get a better removal with a little bit, well, and it's also loading too, so the
Okay,
BNR is gonna, you know, assimilate a certain amount of nitrogen. But you can see also, when you're looking at the differences, I mean, you're talking a difference between basically from 2 milligrams per liter to 2.5 or 1.7 milligrams per liter to the 2.5 milligrams per liter. So
it's not that,
it's not a big difference if you were to look at that in non-concentration, but maybe pounds. Some of those years could actually, even it had a little higher concentration, might have been less flow, might have been less pounds.
Okay.
So we're only looking at the concentration in milligrams per liter. So we're not really comparing both of those. So even though the concentration can be a little higher, it doesn't necessarily mean we're putting more nitrogen out to the fields than we were before. And then we also get some, more polishing of the nitrogen in the fields. We nitrify some of that ammonia or not ammonia, but nitrogen that goes into the fields actually gets broken down and changed. And so if you look at the TKN on the effluent compared to the TKN which is the total nitrogen at the effluent at well 31, it lowers. So we are still getting more polishing through the ground too. And the limit for us is well 31 for nitrogen, and that is 3 during the year, average of a 3 overall for the 12 months. And then during the summer months, from June 21st to September 21st is a 2 average for those months. We can't go above that. And we've always been below those concentrations. In those
thank you very much.
Yeah,
I just got educated on a lot of stuff and I won't ask about those in the future. But I just wanted to see how those work in relationship to the whole.
and then we try to set like air demand and so blower speeds and energy we're constantly looking at that. How many cells do you have in service? So you can try to run the system as efficient as possible too, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Any more questions for the operations department? Thanks, Mike. Paul?
Well, I've got much less. We've got digestion improvements project is still ongoing, as you're aware. We still participated in the nutrient removal project. We continue to assess that with the other departments within the plan. We're still moving on with the SCADA server replacement project. We're still implementing that. That takes time to cut that over, but we are in the midst of that. We're also working on the 811 CMMS integration project as well. We're working with Lucity on that to get that done so that all of our dig alerts are automated through our Lucity and CMMS work order system. So we can provide positive response through our work order management system. So that's ongoing. Hopefully I'll have some news to report next month and make significant progress. We did complete much of what you'll see here on our list is the winter weatherization, just check for winter, whether it's vehicles, roof inspections, things like that. Some of which did result in some warranty work that we found. We did replace the boiler number 1 blower and motor. We found that that went bad on us, so we did do that. We completed the Otis Air VFD installation, which was quite an effort. We did an entire retrofit with a new unit using an old case, so we kind of save some money, but it did take a little bit of modification and work to rebuild the entire cabinet. So one of our new staff members completed that this month, so that was pretty impressive stuff. We did implement plant-wide multi-factor authentication. That's a big step. We continue to see an increase in bad actors out there, and TTSA is not immune to that. So we're still getting hit quite often, and so far our efforts have been very successful. But we still have to do our due diligence and fight the good fight. So we continue to harden those systems. We did replace some submersible level transmitter on the VFD pond. And we repaired and replaced various plant heaters for the winter, so on and so forth there. So with regards to work orders, we made significant progress on the mechanical side. As you can see, comparing month over month, we've dropped. We don't trend it, of course, for the board here, but we're down below 100 on the pending work orders on the mechanical side. So the guys have been out there knocking a lot of those work orders out, trying to get caught up in preparation for the new year, trying to take advantage of the winter weather, of course. So moving on to pictures. And you'll see on the left-hand side, that's that new VFD. That was all done in-house, all that modification. That was an old drive unit. We purchased a new active front-end drive, completely programmed, installed that. Good work from one of our newer staff members. On the right-hand side, just one of the handful of pictures we did get over the past couple of months. We replaced a roof hatch over a PSA. Next slide. Some of the concrete repairs that we've done from a lot of our snow removal throughout the plant. We tend to tear up some of these lids, and sometimes they'll catch lips and things. So we've got more work that we're doing on that, but one of the ones we did in-house there. And just one of the lines we replaced for the surface wash line repair. So that's right there by Final Effluent. So in the filters. Can you answer any questions about the month's activities?
Any questions for Paul? Maintenance?
Thank you. Questions for me.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Jason, you up?
I am. Good morning, board. So in the engineering department, making some really good progress on all the pending projects. We've got digestion improvements. We should be getting basis of design verification here within the next few weeks. Scott has offered to give the board presentation on progress on that, so you guys know where we're at. He's gonna, I think we're planning on February for that, so that you can kind of figure out where we're headed on that. The TRI relining in the Alpine Olympic area has gone pretty well. We had some meetings with staff at Tahoe City. We've got a plan moving forward. Sounds like it's gonna be a good coordination effort, so we have no concerns there, thankfully. Nutrient removal, that we had a pretty big workshop this week. All staff from different departments attended, and we got some layout questions answered. We got some strategy questions answered. We got a little bit more detail on some of the technologies they're proposing would make sense for us, which has led to us having lots of conversations with salesmen of different technologies out there. Of course, you know, you gotta suss out the car salesman from the new legitimate technologies, but there's some pretty cool stuff on the market right now that Corolla feels pretty confident is mature enough to start recommending we look at. So we're doing that kind of by identifying the things that might make sense, not only as part of this study, but also in any kind of future, if we go with the rehab route, there's still tons of stuff that we're identifying that will at some point or another make sense. Good example of that is the supplemental carbon that we add to our system to get denitrification. There's a possible route where we could get rid of methanol, which is kind of a hazardous chemical. So we're looking at, it's called Micro C. It's a proprietary byproduct of the petroleum industry, but buds love the garden, so, we're looking at viability of that and improving kind of safety aspects. Paid transport study, we also had kind of a nice breakthrough month. They had been gathering tons of data. We had been seeing very little in the way of where they were heading with it. We were just kind of felt like we were feeding the machine data. We had a really solid meeting a couple weeks ago where they gave us some of the trends, some of the information about what they feel the disposal field is doing, what the original intent was of the disposal field, what was some of that original study. We had a guy on the phone call that was actually involved in 1970s. That was part of the original geotechnical assessment of the field and determining its viability for disposal. So that was cool. It's been a really good history lesson for a lot of us. You know, even some of us that have been around for a long time are looking at it going, wow, that's cool. Didn't know that. So as part of this effort, we're also kind of trying to create a more concise and organized timeline of things that have happened in this plant since its inception. Some things you say, oh yeah, I just learned about this, and someone else say, yeah, of course, I've always known about that. So we're kind of trying to get to a point where we would have something potentially shareable to the public, even where they can kind of retrace, oh, this is what happened, this is what happened, kind of, you know, a little bit more into the public outreach avenue. But yeah, so we're learning a ton there. They're still looking for more data, but what they're seeing at this stage, they feel confident they'll be able to put something together that Lahontan can then chew on. And then we will be able to make a determination about if a phase 2 is necessary. Spoiler alert, likely it will be. But we are hoping to give Lahontan enough information that will give them comfort in assessing what they're calling the assimilative capacity of the field. So the field does a bunch of biology, it does some geochemical stuff. There is theoretically a point at which that would stop happening. It's likely very, very far away. But we do need to know that number. So we've got enough data between the 1970s and now that we should be able to create a linear regression that allows us to say, oh, we got 70 years, or alarmingly, we've got 15 years. We don't think it's that, but it sure will be nice to know. So that's going really well. In the laboratory, all the proficiency testing was completed. There was a couple of error resolutions that Kristen worked to fix up, and that's a pretty extensive process, as you guys know, with the TNI switch. The question about whether or not it's a problem with Lahontan is one thing, but the question of how we handle all of those things internally and how we keep the record keeping and the standard we hold ourselves to is pretty high now. The bar is pretty high. So there was extensive work that the lab put into getting those corrective actions taken care of. They're preparing for the biannual assessment that should be happening in March or April. That is always a highly stressful period of time for anyone that's running a lab, I can attest to. We're paying our annual ELAP fees. That's an ongoing regular thing. And we had one corrective action, and there's one pending. Questions? I think there was a little bit there wasn't much on the public outreach front this month, so.
I got a question, Jason. It's not really a question. It's just trying to help me out with the procedure here on the Squaw Alpine TRI rehab. When are we gonna kick off?
Construction is going to be the day after Labor Day, 2025.
Day after Labor Day.
Correct.
That's September.
That's correct.
And what is the estimated time of completion?
It'll be probably 5 weeks, 6 weeks on the outset. Very little of that is going to be active lining of the pipe, a very, very short period. They're thinking maybe 3 days will likely be actually lining the pipe, but there's a ton of effort associated with bypassing the line so that they can clean the line and line it.
Okay, that was, how many lineal feet are we looking at?
1,380.
Okay, and we're gonna do a bypass and we're gonna lay the bypass line on top of the bicycle path.
Next to everywhere possible, not necessarily on top of it.
And so, which means we're gonna have to shut down the bicycle path between Squaw and Alpine.
There will be some activities of the project that it's highly likely they will need to close the bike path temporarily.
Okay, so when you say close the bike path, that means that probably at the River Ranch, the bicycle path from Labor Day on until completion will be terminated at the River Ranch.
No, not necessarily. So effectively, the plan is to do as much as we possibly can without closing the bike path. The consultant has identified a private property owner right next to the bike trail that has allowed us to use their driveway to do pipe fusing, which is kind of one of the bigger, items on the list. And so we're gonna be able to do that and then drag the pipe to where it needs to be. So that will be a tremendous savings on closures. And then while if we're bypassing, but there's no active work actually going on, then we will be able to allow bikes to use one of the lanes on the trail.
Okay, so basically what you're saying, Jason, is the bicycle path between Squaw and Alpine will be cut down to just one lane? There won't be a rerouting up on the highway or anything like that?
No, we are not.
Okay, so we don't have a liability of anything
No.
from the rerouting of the bicycle path?
Nope, neither Tahoe City nor TTSA supports intentionally bypassing people onto Highway 89.
Because that, even after Labor Day,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of activity on that bicycle
It
path.
is reduced quite a bit.
It is
Yeah.
reduced, but.
We got some numbers from Tahoe City on the bike traffic in that area. And it isn't zero, but it does substantially drop, yeah. And we have been communicating with, all of the different like bike shops that do rentals, all of the different recreational area. We communicated with the rafting companies, even though they're usually done by that time of
Yes.
year. But we communicated, there's a pretty substantial outreach effort. We're letting them know when the closures are gonna be. If there are closures, be prepared for them. And this time, there's gonna be substantial signage warning people way in advance. So there's a pretty substantial outreach campaign to make sure people are
Okay.
aware that the closures are.
Good. Thank you. No further questions for me?
Thanks, Dale. Anything else for Jason?
Nope.
Nope. All right, thank you, Jason. Liz?
In addition to our normal course of business, paying people, paying vendors, managing the general ledger, and attending finance committee. A few of our folks went to, they went to San Diego to the CalPERS conference, and you'll see some pictures of that. Kaylee went to the CASEL conference in Utah, got a couple fun pictures of that as well. And she attended CPR training. The biggest thing to note is that there was an attempted ACH fraud. A few months ago, I talked to you all about how we implemented ACH because the mail here has been slow. People hadn't been receiving their checks. Paul talked earlier about some bad actors out there in the world. And there was an attempted fraud. No money was lost. We were able to intercept it before it actually happened. The repercussions or the consequences are we are revisiting the need for ACH and working on tightening up the SLP with the bank to see what else we can do to add some protective layers. But some quick thinking and some quick action by the bank is what really resulted in saving us there.
How much money were they?
It was just under $80,000. In my past work life, this has happened multiple times and it has always been just under $80,000. So I wonder there must be some threshold out there for the bad actor so they can stay off some type of radar. This is the first time it has successfully not left the bank in my career. We've had multiple times at other agencies where it actually left the bank and then we found out it was. Kudos to those involved in that. We also are wrapping up the FY24 audit and we are anticipating on bringing it to you all in January.
So Liz, back on the fraud attempt,
Yeah.
is that basically someone impersonating TTSA to the bank?
So it was us transferring it. It was someone outside of TTSA impersonating a vendor actually and repetitively asking us for payment. They actually changed the ACH information to their bad information. It's a vendor that we have sent ACH before and been successful with. There were some red flags, and we've all paid attention to those. A sudden urgency for a large vendor to get such a small amount. It wasn't a past due invoice. And there were some other people involved. So we actually started to process it, and then the bank is actually the one that called us and said, something's not right here. And we said, well, we agree, thank you for holding it.
How often do we have those kind of hits?
The fraudulent attempt, this is the first one I know about since I've been here in the last year. And
There's seen quite a few.
Did-
They're most are blocked at the source, but some do get through and make it to the users, which activates further additional security protocols, but it's best not to discuss the actual security protocols.
All right, taking a look at the billing side, for customer service. In October, there were 4 commercial property inspections and a plan review. We also came in and had talked about a payment plan extension that was not approved. And then there was an additional commercial property inspection. In October, we received about $37,000 in connection fees, and in November, we received about $57,000 in connection fees. Looking at the next slide. For purchasing, again, in addition to general responsibilities, we're wrapping up an updated uniform contract with UniFirst. They were our current vendor, but now we're able to have some cost savings by using a cooperative Sourcewell. So we received some benefit in costing there. And there's also some procurement efforts to help use some of those cooperatives to look for the dump truck purchase. They have been initiated. In addition, we did all of the things we were asked to by the board and the general manager happily. And we have some pictures. So these are Celeste's inspections through October. And you can, there's another inspection. There's Michelle, Donna, Vicky at the CalPERS conference, Kaylee doing some CPR training. And then lastly, that was her at the Gazelle conference in Utah. We all received some Yeti stickers. So we're all very happy that she brought those back for us. That wraps up what we did for the month.
Question on that dump truck purchase. Is that gonna have to be a zero emission vehicle, or is it gonna be an electric dump truck, or is it exempt?
Gonna be an electric dump truck. We're looking at our options right now based on some of the regulations that are out there right now, but we're finalizing what is allowable, whether it needs to be gas and whether or not we can have diesel. Diesel is probably the correct piece of equipment for the job. However, there's a big pushback against diesel in the state of California right now. We're trying to make sure we're compliant before we move forward with the procurement.
There is a threshold of size
Correct.
for the requirements of mandated electric vehicles. And what is that size cutoff?
14,000.
14.
Pound GVWR. There's a range, an acceptable range from 6 to 14,000, which triggers what I would refer to as kind of like a tier 1, which is a lower regulatory threshold, but anything over 14,000 GVWR it qualifies as heavy duty equipment, which you can still have them, but you have to do additional smoke check type things that follow along with the clean truck regulations.
Now, is there any kind of a federal rebate for going electric with us?
We're looking at that. I've sent some information over to Liz and it's being assessed.
Taking a look.
You're checking into it.
Correct.
Super. Thanks, staff. Anything else for Liz? All right, Richard.
All right, so obviously we finalized our CFO risk manager recruitment process, and Liz is now on board. As mentioned, master plan rehab project continues. Progression continues with the land exchange with Tahoe Truckee Airport. Received information this morning that we received the final chain of title and the cert of compliance have been filed with the town and the county. Once those are completed, we'll be able to actually sign the paperwork at the title company and finalize the transfer. So very, very close.
When you say very close, Richard, are we talking a month or 2 months or?
Depends on how fast the county and the town get the certificate of compliances finalized. So those are done and we can.
Any swag of when that can happen?
I think that both of them are gonna process them quickly based on feedback that Scott's received. So hopefully we can finalize it in January, no later than February.
That's soon.
That's soon.
Boy, that'll be a big deal.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that in the rearview mirror. A lot of meetings were held, they were already kind of mentioned by all the managers. Attended the local general managers meeting. Continue to participate in the river revitalization. Can't talk this one. The steering committee at the town with the Truckee River. Been investing a lot in staff with trainings and conferences, WebTech, Cassell, et cetera, that were already mentioned. Highlight staff's participation in the local fundraising for the holiday season with the Sierra Community House, Queen of Hearts, High Fives Foundation, Toys for Tots, Winter Coat Drive. All of them, I would say, were very successful. Did flu shots to try to keep everybody healthy. Had our Thanksgiving luncheon, annual appreciation dinner that you guys were aware of and attended. And then we continued to work on surplusing old equipment and stuff via auction. We actually just hot off the press, our dump truck that we currently have that we wanted to replace due to its age and emissions standard that it doesn't meet, therefore is qualified as a low-use vehicle. We actually just auctioned it off for more than the agency paid for it, so figured that was a pretty good win. I think the biggest upcoming item of interest, as Jason mentioned, is the secondary nutrient removal, which we're targeting for March to have presentations by to roll over the board. Few photos of some of the items.
Looks like you're throwing your elbow out there. Cut that ribbon.
You did a great job on this.
Where are those scissors?
By the way.
Any questions for Richard?
I've got a couple. I was asked, regarding the Palisade project and the potential of, what is it, 1,400 to 1,700 rooms. Would that impact us at all?
I'd say yes.
I mean,
From a flow standpoint, certainly. I think we'd have to run some numbers to see what we think it would impact us as far as, you know, nutrients that would be coming in at that
Right.
level of the population. But
yeah, I think that might be something to take a look at. I'm not sure what the other board members think of that.
It's heating up. It's definitely heating up.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, based on my knowledge, we've got adequate plant capacity and TRI capacity. We would be receiving we'd be basically getting new customers,
Right.
right? Because we'd have that number of new connections and there'd be EDU payments and whatnot, so I don't,
Connection fees, the whole.
yeah.
Yeah, the question was basically, do we have the capacity to handle something of that size?
yeah, we do still have the capacity, but if it's heating up, it's good enough if we want to share that information for all those. We look at the loading and for secondary nutrient removal, it's going to affect that because some of the months our capacity getting up there.
Yeah.
So,
So to chime in a little bit with Palisades, has the Homewood expansion been tabled indefinitely, or do you have any information on that, Dan?
No, it hasn't been tabled. The ski area is not operating this winter.
That's right.
Different theories as to why that is. But the development approval in Homewood, that is still valid. And I think the new investment group is trying to change the approval that was received 10 or 11 years ago. But as I understand it, at least what they're saying is they're trying to change it to make it smaller.
When they say smaller, they looked at, larger units, which would probably be for our interest, lesser number of units, but they're gonna be larger, which, probably adding bathrooms. So
Right.
the numbers may be very similar.
Yeah, it may not be less square footage, but fewer units. So yeah, when I said smaller, they're saying less development, but I think it's more.
So it hasn't been tabled, it's just kind of laying in limbo,
Yeah,
so to speak.
Yeah.
Last newspaper article I read, it just went to TRPA, the revised plan, so that's where they're at.
The next one I have is, are we gonna have the ad hoc committee? Will that be in January, February? Do you guys have a
Ad hoc committee for,
land surplus land?
oh,
yeah, staff had asked that Hawk to hold off on convening the first of the year. Tried to bring the land transfer exchange with
Get
airport
that complete.
to completion, as well as provide some time for staff to start a draft use policy based on some of the input we've gotten to then share with them and see if we're heading in the right direction.
Great.
But I also think staff's had some exploratory conversations with potentially interested parties. We have. Yeah. Down a PUD and the land trust. Yes.
You finished there, Scott?
Yeah.
I got one, question, and a few months ago, we had a rather lengthy discussion on the waiving of fees for the project there on Highway 89 between Squaw and Truckee, that I believe the owner might have been Bruce Olson Construction, or Bruce Olson's Corporation.
Just to clarify, it wasn't a
That's-
waiving of fees, it was a request to have a payment plan that exceeded our outline payment plan in our rules and regulations, just to
So
clarify.
we denied the usage or the amount of ADUs or whatever.
No.
he wanted 2 years to pay his connection fees at an interest rate, and our code book says you can have a year, and so we denied the 2 year.
We denied it.
Kept him to 1 year. Right.
And have we heard anything back from him in
I have
regards
not
to our
heard
board
anything,
decision?
and there's a shake it ready, no communication with them.
Okay. No further questions.
And with our pending January 1 increase in connection fees, have we seen any, through our outreach efforts, any increase in they're coming in to try and take advantage of the current rates before they go up?
There's been a few that have, and it's proven to be a little bit challenging because they're maybe trying to get to us too quick before they have everything in play that needs to be in play before we actually give them the connection fee cost. But we've had a few. We are posting on our website again, even though we sent the mailer out. I'm trying to be proactive to let people know, but.
Great. Any other questions for Richard? Director's comments?
I have one. I didn't run for reelection on the water board, and so I'm gonna be replaced here January, February, wherever. The new guy can get up to speed. I'll help him.
Hate to see you leave, Dave.
So when is that gonna be effective, Dave?
Well, Richard and Joe will work that out.
Okay,
But, one of the new members expressed interest in, but I'll stay until he's up and ready to run.
okay.
One of the newly elected members.
Yes. Good guy.
Thanks for, hopefully we'll see you in January.
Yeah, sure in January.
Good, okay.
You know, who's the new person who expressed interest?
Yeah, Albert, can't say his last name, okay. I want to say Clement, that isn't his last name, but it starts with a C. He's a good guy.
Thanks for the heads up on that one. Any other director comments? Scott, Dan, I'll just say, you know, I appreciate, it was Jason indicating that we'll get a little bit, a deeper dive. We've got all these large design projects, and you know, you guys coming to us and giving us a deeper dive into digestion improvements and where you guys see opportunities to educate us on this, because we're gonna be, you know, at some point faced with a, you know, hundreds of $1 million decision. The more we can kind of understand, you know, we're not gonna be design engineers, but the more we can understand and make an informed decision when that time comes, the better. So where you see those opportunities, I encourage you to, you know, especially when the board meetings on the short side, giving staff, the opportunity to kind of continue to educate us so we can make the best decision.
And I'll try and bring Bert up to speed on as much as I am able.
Great.
Just that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had the holiday party, but, you know, on behalf of the board, wish all the staff, you know, happy holidays, safe, healthy, keep your plant running well. Appreciate everybody's efforts here and, yeah, look forward to seeing you guys in the new year. Page, no closed session.
Man, this is record-breaking time. One out.
It's a good sign.
Man, I'll tell you what.
The year.
after the last meeting of the year, whew,
So at this point, we will, adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I will second.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Blake, for